Hello.
Yellow.
What's
Yo,
going
what up?
on?
Is the
All
mic
right.
working? I had to undo
Yeah,
it.
No, yeah, it's
it's
actually it's
working
working well.
great. Way better than last stream, actually.
Sweet. Good.
So this is our friend Carly. Carly, would you like to do your little introduction and plug some of your fun stuff?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Carly. I am a variety streamer. I'm ChzzyFryz on literally all platforms. ChzzyFryz. And yeah. I also make glass. And
Cool
yeah,
thing.
just ChzzyFryz on everything, and you can find your way. So
Yeah, shout out to her.
Yep. And so
This whole thing exists in a way
I
thanks
think
to
this
her.
is where
So
I'm going to casually segue into our next segment, where we're going to talk about bad book to movie adaptations, where we
yes.
all have different things that we are pretty passionate about on this subject. So,
Yeah.
Carly, while we brought you on, why don't we start with you on
sure.
Death Note?
Yeah, oh my
Yeah,
god. Thank you by the way for having me. Sorry
of
for
course.
An honor. It's
suddenly
an
being
honor.
here. But yeah, so I guess it came out like 3 years ago, which
The
is
movie.
yeah, or 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not quite sure cuz
Yeah,
I was looking
that
up
sounds.
yeah,
That
a
sounds.
synopsis because I like blocked a lot of it from my memory, so I wasn't exactly sure what had happened, and it's just it's so bad. They tried to cram so much into it, and like the whole movie feels like a fever dream because it goes into one thing and then just like goes straight on to the next, and it doesn't like really explain anything.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, man. It's just the only thing that saved it. Well, it wasn't saved. The only good thing was William Defoe as Ryuk. And that was just
Yes.
basically because of his voice and the makeup. They
Oh,
ruined his
that
character
was a
too.
great casting choice, by the way.
And I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
for
and my
sure.
big thing, like when you look at like the thing between Light and L in the movie, I'm like, Light's supposed to be this genius that's like always ahead of the game. Like he's just smarter than everyone. And I'm like, in the movie, he literally gets by luck consistently.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like, no, like in the comics and in everything else, it's like he was just smarter than people, and that's how he got through things. And
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
he was composed too, and I just like watched some clips and he like crumples like a leaf so many times in the movie. And remember, I forgot that scene where like everything flies around and then he screams like that goat.
yeah, it's like
He's
why?
supposed
What
to
was
be like
that?
autistic or something like that. I read, right?
Supposed to be like what?
Supposed to have like some mental health problems, right?
Yeah, I mean, but not in that way. He's supposed to be like I think like borderline sociopathic. I'm not quite
Yeah.
sure, but like
It's one of
yeah,
those things
he's
that
like
he was
supposed to be
like
way more composed.
he's so
Yeah.
intelligent that he was awkward because of it. Was like the
Yeah.
original character.
Oh yeah, no, he was like antisocial because like yeah, that's I
He's
forgot
just
about
smarter
that.
than everybody else. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
and then we got a plug-in chat going for you. But
Yeah.
and then like those are one of those things, especially with things like that. I always have a hard time, especially when I hear that it's like we're making one of these. Like
Yeah.
we're
Oh
making
yeah,
one
because
movie.
it's a huge story.
Yeah. So
Seriously,
what they
because
should
I'm
have
like,
done was either they should have made multiple or just a longer movie with a better like plot like a plot point because it was so because there's so much to cover in Death Note, they kind of tried to do everything and that way it led them to doing nothing because they didn't have
Yeah.
enough time to do anything and
They just crammed it into like a movie.
yeah, and like all the like tone of the movie changed so many times and like by the end of it it was just like some weird generic like young adult teen romance movie
Yeah,
with,
and the
So
the
I think
romance
Japan is
feels
doing a
forced
movie
in a lot of
series.
parts as well. But it's
yeah
just
I'm pretty sure Japan is like actually doing like a proper movie series, like a long one.
oh really
Yeah, I've seen it like recommended in Netflix a lot of times. I've never seen them.
oh
But
dang
I've seen there's like a couple of them, I think.
well I need to look into that because this hurt to watch
yeah.
Oh,
and like
it's
yeah
a
it was
painful
so
one.
bad because I also like I saw this other scene where apparently the first time Light sees Misa, which her name's Mia. Why? Like everything's Americanized, by the way. Like it's in
Oh
America
yeah, it's super
instead.
whitewashed.
Yeah, it's super whitewashed. It is like completely whitewashed actually. And I don't know why they chose to do that. I didn't know, like, was it to appeal to a like wider audience, which I don't, that's problematic in itself. And also I don't think they needed to do that since it was already live action. But I don't know. They just like they swapped Light and Misa's personality like completely, and it's just bizarre.
Light's a little bitch in that movie.
Yeah, he's, and so is L actually. I forgot about that too, but
I was
like
just
anytime he
about to
tries to
say.
do something he's crying.
I was
Yeah.
just about to say, like, they made L like a little, like they ruined L far more.
Oh yeah.
Because, like, to be fair, Light was kind of a little bitch, like always.
Yeah, but
Like
he
that's
doesn't
just
like
kind of a thing.
shit his pants when he met Ryuk.
Yeah, yeah,
The
Yeah.
movie he does.
Yeah.
The movie he like drops to the floor screaming when he sees Ryuk.
Oh,
yeah,
and then also like all the deaths are super super like gory, but not even like in a horrifying way. It's like almost cartoony, and it
yeah.
seems
Like it's
like,
almost comical.
yeah,
Yeah, they
it
could have
seems
gone
like a
like
lot of this
Final
movie.
Destination route.
Yes, exactly. And it's like the deaths and like the scene where Light sees Misa for the first time and it's like slow motion and like 80s music and she like flips her hair. It's like it, like certain scenes and like stylistic choices in this movie really seem like it's just a spoof on other movie tropes all smashed into one thing, and they said, yeah, we're going to call this Death Note even though it's literally not. And
Oh
like
my god.
it's that is such a pet peeve of mine, and I think it's going to apply to a lot of what you guys talk about
I was
too.
just
It's like
about to
if
say
Basically,
that's a
it's not the
stealing
thing, don't
scene.
call it that.
they like
Yeah.
That is
read the
Aragon
synopsis of
too.
and make the movie.
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna make if you're gonna make an adaptation, a live action adaptation, you need to make it the same story. Otherwise, it's not the same goddamn thing. So just
It
call
genuinely
it like
feels like they
Death
just
Note
read the
inspired instead.
synopsis. They went to IMDb, read what the show was about, and they just like wrote a script from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there are so many parts of that movie too, though, with Death Note, where I feel like the writers like wrote a bunch, and then they were like, "Wait a second, we missed this part, and this part. So how can we kind of cram them to fit into this point,
Yes.
so that we
Yeah,
can
like
keep moving on,
iconic
even though we're
parts of
not
the
paying
show.
attention to the core."
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Seemed like an afterthought. The whole movie.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if they read if they watched it. I wouldn't even be sure if they did it, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I know. I don't think, and that's another thing. Like, if I genuinely don't think any of them did. Like, otherwise, how could you be okay with working on that project?
And I think what makes it
It's
worse is like Death Note is like widely considered to be like the best anime out there, right? Like a lot of people consider it. Like if you ask like a normie about anime,
it's a
they will know
highly debatable
Yeah,
about Death
topic,
Note.
but yes.
But like, if people that don't know about anime still they still know about
that's
Death
true.
Note,
Yeah.
it being good, and I think it hurts way more because of that. Like, if they got
Yes,
like a lesser known anime or that wasn't that even considered to be like amazing, it wouldn't be such a
Mhm.
problem. But if you got like the
exactly.
best,
Yeah, it's like it's
like
insulting.
remaking The Godfather.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's like I definitely agree with them because it's like it's one of those things like with like current animes. Could you imagine if they tried to make a One Piece live action movie? There, it's like there's just some things that like you should just not touch that. Like it should just stay pristine like it is. But
Yeah.
it's like, and then like my big like book to movie like horror show was Aragon. Like I loved those books as a kid, and then you go to watch the movie, and it's literally Star Wars with dragons. Like that is what the Aragon movie is. It's literally
What's
like
Aragon supposed to be about? I never read it.
so Aragon. It's like a 4 book series about like a little farm boy,
Wait.
right?
This is an Aragon like the king from Lord of the Rings.
No, this is
I thought you were talking
Aragon
about Lord of the Rings. I was
from
very
the
weirded
air.
out by it because I
Oh
love the
no,
movie.
yeah, no, the movie Lord of the Rings, I have love hate on some points, but they did a pretty good overarching spot.
Yeah.
So Aragon, it's a 4 book series from Aragon, Eldest, Bersinger, and then Inheritance. And so the whole concept is that so there's an elite in this world. There's an elite group, right? That have special powers over everybody else, right? And these people, they have dragon riding abilities. They're dragon riders, connected with dragons, have magic. But one of them decides to take power from themselves, betrays the rest of the group. Nobody thinks any of them are alive, and one of them remains alive to be a guide and a mentor to teach a little farm boy from a faraway land these how to handle these magical powers he was bestowed. And it's literally Star Wars, like with dragons.
That sounds
Like
pretty good.
so the books are incredible, like the character development. So there's a character Arya throughout the entire first book, right? So the way the movie does it is that exact romantic. We're gonna make it a like romantic love interest thing, where in the books, the whole first movie, she's unconscious, poisoned, and dying. She doesn't talk or anything. But like the movie gives it these like weird fever dreams to where he sees her like dancing around and talking to her in his dreams. And it's supposed to build this like big emotional connection. But in the books, it's her trying to communicate to him dreaming, like while she's in a dungeon dying. But the movie just tries to make it all like ethereal and like she's supposed to be an elf, very much so made her she's a human. And it literally like at the end of the movie it mentions that she's going back to her people. And that's the point you very much so realize that she's an elf. By her people they mean an elf, but it's literally just they don't.
So she physically looks human, like she doesn't have ears or
Oh yeah,
anything.
it doesn't have the ears, anything like that. Like the book had like a
Bro,
full
that's
descriptions of
fucking
how
great.
elves are different than humans, and she was just a human. And they literally not once in the entire movie was it acknowledged that she was supposed to be an elf. And at the point where they could have plugged it at the end of the movie, because they did one of those big, we're gonna try and leave a cliffhanger for episode for a second sequel to it that never happened because it bombed. But like the whole sequel was that she was supposed to be going back to the Elven Kingdom, which right there you just plug that they're elves. But no, and even then they changed it to her people. That she's going back to her people. And I'm like, what? Like
If the story they're making an adaptation off of has specific information about the characters or the scene or literally anything about the actual narrative, why don't they use it?
yeah,
Yo,
Like,
fun
my whole
fact,
thing is all about that.
it's
the
making it
final
a whole new
battle,
story.
yeah, the final battle was also supposed to take place in a dwarvish kingdom. You don't see a single dwarf nor dwarves even acknowledged in the movie once. They're
Rip.
Like you
like,
don't know.
too much in CGI.
Like
Like
if I don't read the books and just watch the movie, do I don't know about dwarfs in this universe?
honestly, if you didn't watch the movies and you watch like if you didn't read the books and you just watch the movie, you're just gonna watch it and be like, what is this fever dream? Because nothing makes sense. Because it's so much like information because it's like a 400-page book that they tried cramming into an hour long like hour and a half movie, and it just doesn't work that way. That's not.
Yeah.
It's like it takes me like I'm a pretty decent reader like when I read consistently, and the book took me 6 to 8 hours to read all the way through. And it's one of those things that like if I can read it in 6 to 8 hours, when you're making an actual movie, I expect it to at least be 4 to 5 hours. Like because to be fair, a lot can be condensed when it's like scene descriptions and things in books where you can get really in depth. But it's like I still expect like to be at least half of the read time in screen time. Like
Oh yeah, totally.
That makes sense, like
mhm.
in that aspect of getting all the stories. But like, if they're trying to do an adaptation of like this universe that's like so big and so much happens, like a 3 hour movie is like a lot to ask for. As like for like the typical audience member is not going to want to watch a 3 hour movie,
Yeah.
or it has to be like really really good for it to get somewhere. So like I think these need to be at least 2.5 hours or multiple parts, depending on how much they want to put in there. And it's weird because it seems like this one and Death Note tried to do so much and then also tried to be a short movie, like not even an
Oh
average
yeah.
length movie, and it's
Yeah.
just like kicking themselves in the ass.
It's
Yeah.
the
And
opposite of the Hobbit.
yeah, well, and that's the thing is that I feel like they should have taken because especially for like a series that has 4 books, why are you trying to cram it all into one when you can split like because you could get
So,
8 movies
because
out of
like
this by
Yeah,
the
splitting each book into two
plotline from
movies.
all four books are in the movies.
What was that?
the what in the movie?
Do you have like plot lines from all four books in the same movie, or is it just like the first two books?
Um, so with this one, like because with the 4 books, like I think they should have split one plot into 2 movies. But they very much like, and the hard thing, especially with Aragon, they tried to take stuff from the second book and push it into the first book, like in the first movie too. I don't know if that
Yeah.
answers what you were asking, but
Oh yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
so Wait, so they do have all 4 books in one movie, or
No,
just
they just
parts
steal
of?
stuff from the second book and they add it to the first book story in places that it doesn't make
Oh.
sense.
So yeah, it's the
And
opposite of
like,
the Hobbit.
Mm.
yeah, because like the other thing is that there's a really big character that's supposed to be a mystic and she's supposed to be a fortune teller, but she actually reappears in the books like 6 different times. And like the way they introduced her in the first movie, like she has a critical core part to the like end fight, and she's not even actually a part of the end fight in the movie. They don't even show her. And then there's like after the teacher is killed off, you're supposed to meet Murtog, who is this like he's a side character that is on the run from these people called the Varden, which are like the rebellion, literally like the rebellion to the Star Wars theme trope, throwing
Yeah,
that back. But it's like he's supposed to be running away from the Varden, like he's fleeing the Varden because his dad was one of the bad guys. But the thing is when he runs into Aragon, he's very much so like in the books he's supposed to be this superly cautious character, like he's overly cautious, that's how he survives and everything. But like the second he meets Aragon, he's like, oh, you're going to the Varden, cool, I'll take you all the way there. And like in the books it very made it very clear that he's like, I'm only taking you to the crossroads. And it wasn't until they were being pursued by people trying to kill him that he's like, all right, I'll go all the way to the Varden with you. But it's like in the books he goes all the way with him, he's so happy to take him. And then when they finally get to the Varden, he's like, "Oh, I have second thoughts." And it's a whole total tone change that makes no sense. Because it's like, why
Mm.
were you so enthusiastic to go? And then you get there and you're like, "Oh, did you just forget?" Like, uh, yeah, it
Yeah.
was bad.
that honestly sounds horrible. That
Yeah,
sounds
that
like a
Yeah,
sounds like
horrible adaptation.
yeah.
yeah.
It just
To be
sounds like
fair,
these are just sorry. It just sounds
oh,
like
you're
they're
good.
doing like this weird paper mache Frankenstein of a story just to get a movie out and then slapping on the name of what they took the pieces from for publicity. And I don't understand why, because they're welcoming in the specific audience, and if that audience is so diehard, especially like Death Note fans, they're going to expect something, and if it's not anything like that, you're like, why would you do that? You're just asking for people to get mad at you. And also, if you did make multiple parts, you could make more money. Like, I don't understand why they do this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
My big thing is I was at least happy with the Aragon movie that I didn't get my hopes up because it's the same director from Jurassic Park 3. So it's like
oh.
I didn't expect much out of it once I saw that announcement.
So
But it was like
what year is this
still
movie?
Hmm?
From Aragon.
Yeah, like where did it come from? Where it came out?
Oh, I'm actually low key looking this up real quick because I don't know exactly when the movie released, but the books came out when I was a kid, and like I always thought it was fascinating because when the books were written, the author was only 15. So that's why
Whoa.
there are very obvious like correlations to other movies like Star Wars and things.
Oh,
Because like the
Okay,
movie,
that
like the
makes
books do
makes
have like
sense.
kind of the generalistics of it, but
you like the path of the hero.
yeah, and the movie came out in 2006.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, but yeah, it was just one of those. It blew me away. There were so many things that missed, and it's like this, like because like the way the world building and the map building and everything was in the books, it could have been the next Lord of the Rings series. Like it had the potential to go that far because of how in depth the relations between each faction is, all that stuff. Like they had the content to do it. They just definitely dropped the ball on it.
You like decided not to do it.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, and then Pablo, you wanted to talk about Harry Potter, right?
Harry Potter 6 specifically because
Specifically
Oh,
I've
six.
read
Okay.
I
I've
know
read
where this is going.
all Harry Potter books at least 10 times. Like as I have a problem with them. Like
Mhm.
no normal person should read the same book that amount of times. And the sixth one is my favorite because it has the whole backstory to Voldemort. Like
Yeah.
everything you wanted to know about Voldemort, you learn it in the sixth book. Like his whole backstory. Even you know that he wanted to be a teacher at Hogwarts. You know how he made all the Horcruxes. Like how he, everything. All you want to know about Voldemort.
Just
The
in
movie
case
and
any of our viewers
yeah,
are dumb like I am, real quick, you're talking about Goblet of Fire, right? Is that the one we're talking
I'm
about?
talking about Half Blood Prince.
Half Blood. Okay. See, I don't know the franchise well enough to know by like which
Yeah,
movie is which
Goblet of
one.
Fire is the fourth one.
Oh,
Is
the
the
Forehead. Come
fourth
fourth
on.
one?
one.
My
Yeah,
bad.
get with the program.
It's the only
So
one I remember very well.
the sixth movie, is basically like the whole romance between people. It's like
Mhm.
like having like a romantic triangle between Lavender and Hermione, and
Oh
Harry and
yeah.
Ginny. And the whole Voldemort backstory that is like basically the most important part of the whole series up to the final, like to the ending. It's very important to the ending actually that you know like this story because that's how you know that Harry was a Horcrux and shit. Because that's how you learn about the Horcruxes
Yeah.
through the sixth book.
Okay, I'm
And
on
they
page now.
cut
I know what we're talking about.
all of that. Every single there's like three things about Voldemort's backstory, and it's like the least important ones. You
Mm.
have Dumbledore meeting Voldemort when he was like a weird little kid, and then you have when he's like at Slughorn's when he asks about Horcruxes, which is like technically the most important one.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Did that not happen in the movie?
No, that happens in the movie, but that's like the
Okay.
only ones that happen. You miss the whole Voldemort came back to his hometown to kill
Yeah.
his dad and his family. You miss all that. You miss.
Yeah.
You don't
And
know the fact
also,
that Voldemort's like a half blood.
yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. That is so important. And also like you miss a lot of the lore behind like all the like the Deathly Hallows and stuff. It doesn't really explain that much in the movie.
Yeah, you learn that's a Horcrux in the movie because Dumbledore kind of like just explains it like very basic level, but you learn what they are in
Yeah.
the books. Like you know what they are because that's the whole point of them. They're trying to learn if they actually made them, if he actually made them.
Okay.
So the whole book, like the point of the book, is getting the information about Voldemort, and the movie just literally teen drama.
Yep.
They grab like the lamest part of the book, which is like the whole Harry, Ginny, Ron, Hermione, Lavender thing,
Yeah.
and that's the whole movie.
Yeah, like it could have just been a comedic bit or like a very like side story because like it still matters, but it shouldn't be like the main focus. Like I don't know why like all of these just keep reverting into teen romances. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. What's Hollywood's
Also, the whole
fascination with
Malfoy
them,
thing.
man?
Malfoy's like the most important book for Malfoy is the sixth book,
Yeah.
and the whole thing is like three scenes. You have like the bedroom scene. You have like you have the scene at the beginning. You have the bedroom scene, and you have when he kills them at the ending.
What was the one at the beginning?
When he is in the train and he like petrifies Harry and kicks him and breaks his
Oh,
nose.
right. When does the like is this is the sixth one when he helps the Death Eaters get into Hogwarts or is that
Yeah.
7? Oh,
That when
yeah.
he fixes the banishing cabinet. That's like
Yeah.
that's super important.
And
He
then
fixes the banishing cabinet that's in like the dark alley, so that the Death Eaters can get to Hogwarts and kill Dumbledore.
yeah.
Spoiler
And
alert.
then they have was because this is the one where they're taking potions class, right? And then like Harry has the book with all the notes in it, and it turns out it was Snape's notebook from
Yeah.
before. I feel like
But it's like a triple
that was
meaning
left
because
out, right?
the Half Blood Prince is technically Harry, Snape, and Voldemort because they are all of them
Yeah.
Half Bloods.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, I feel like because I feel like the sixth movie. I haven't seen them in a really long time, but I feel like the sixth movie brushes over like Snape as well as Voldemort. It's just like kind of like sprinkled in there that something's going on. I could be
The
remembering
movie
wrong.
doesn't even really care about the whole Half Blood Prince mystery because it's like supposed to be a huge mystery in the book. Like they're
Yeah.
actively trying to find who is it.
I mean,
And the
like
movies
it's a
again, like
title, so
there's like 4 lines in the movie, like at the very beginning, and it isn't even like that. You could not know like that they have like about the whole thing. The only like important thing like when he fights Malfoy, he reads the charm in the book. But besides that, it like doesn't really affect the movie, but it affects the book a lot.
Yeah, and that's one of those crazy things, especially if you're gonna name the movie The Half Blood Prince, that you're not gonna dive into that aspect of the movie as much as you
I mean,
probably
to be
should.
fair, that's the name of the book too.
Yeah, exactly. But like that, yeah, like the fact that like, especially if they've glossed over that much, like I feel like that's just confusing, a head scratch moment.
yeah, I wonder if they do that because like because it's lazy writing or maybe they're doing it because they know that the people who are going to watch it have probably read the books or watched the anime or the shows whatever and they just assume that people will know the backstory.
My
But
theory
like
for mine is that Voldemort's story is like super dark.
yeah.
Like he
Like
kills everyone. Like his whole like father side of the family, he kills them all. So I kind of understand. Like it's super dark.
Yeah, maybe Hollywood was just like, this is a little too dark to put on TV screen.
Like he kills an old woman like the second he gets out of Hogwarts.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I know in the seventh one they had to after like the test screening or whatever, they had to take out the scene of Hermione getting tortured by Bellatrix. Because they had originally filmed that, but they had to take it out.
And that's also very important in the book.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I'm pretty sure I've seen the deleted scenes of that. Like they have clips of it on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are. But the rest of I do think that it's like a rather well adapted franchise, except for that one.
Mm. So, what are your what's your guys' take on the aftermarket movies, like the movies that have came out after the series, like the mythical monsters and those ones?
I like the first one. I think it's a good idea
Yeah.
because I do have like Harry Potter is like my whole childhood.
Me too.
It's the most important part of my childhood, like genuinely. So I
Yeah,
do
and it,
like that it's like still a thing. That's why I love them because I like that
Yeah.
it's like still going on.
Yeah, I feel bad too because I'm one of those people, like, I watched all the movies through it and my mom absolutely loves the franchise. And like I know a lot of the details, but I don't think I've actually gone back and reread any of the books or watched any of the movies in like 8 years. So it's one of those things, everything's just kind of like like a hazy memory in the back of my head when it comes to Harry Potter.
yeah, I haven't reread them since like middle school actually. But I read them for the first time in third grade, and then obviously my brain was like, "What the fuck?" And sorry, I don't know if we're okay.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We're a
Okay.
mature audience, 18.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome to course.
I assumed, but yeah. So then I reread it, and then like every year or so, I just happen to do a marathon with like my family or friends, and so I haven't read the books in a while though, so I don't remember too much about what they missed out on. Except there is
My
one
last
thing
reread was like
really mad. Just really quick,
reread
in the
over
fourth,
Thursday.
wait, no, not in the fourth one, the freaking Chamber of Secrets. Like, there's this whole thing where Hermione has to do like this potion thing, or else they're gonna get poisoned. There's so many more levels to the Chamber of Secrets than just like the giant chess game and like the
keys.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the first one. That's Chamber of Secrets. No, that's Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I meant the stone, not the
Did
secrets.
the movie have the weird like IV tentacle scene? I don't remember if I've
Yeah.
ever seen it. Yeah, that
But
was
it's
one
like
of those
very.
too, right?
It's like a minute scene.
Yeah. And I mean, like, for pacing reasons, I think that was a decent
Yeah,
choice.
I think I like for most of it. I think that the franchise is like very well made. Like they did like a great adaptation of it.
Yeah, and they didn't warp anything. It's just they left out some things which would have made things more understandable, but for the most part, I don't think they didn't butcher it or make it into something
No,
completely
not at all.
different.
Especially like 5 and 6 are like the longest books. 5 is like 800 pages.
Yeah.
So it's understandable if they like cut some of it.
And see,
For
that's one
sure.
of those franchises. I appreciate the fact that they split the last movie in like the last book into
Oh
two
yeah,
movies,
that's
rather
that's
than trying to
a
condense.
genius decision.
Yeah.
The only bad thing that came from it is like every single franchise started doing that. Like the last movie, a double feature.
Yeah. It's like not everything needs to be like that. And I think that like the film industry needs to be more mindful of like the whole point is to tell stories and like create art. So why wouldn't you respect it as its own entity? Like if it needs to be 2 parts, make it 2 parts. If it needs to be one, like it's just ridiculous how people do it for money grabs and then end up like making less money on it because it sucks.
Then projected. And that's my big thing too, is I laugh because I feel like most of those people go into those thinking it's going to be an easy money grab. Like, oh, it already has a fan base. We don't have to pay out on high tier actors because of that. And it's still.
And Harry Potter had a huge fan base.
Yeah.
Harry Potter, I feel like the casting though, they put quite a bit into that still.
It's an amazing casting.
Yeah, and also I know that Snape, well, the actor for Snape, I totally forgot his name. Alan Rickman. He knew because when they started filming, the last book wasn't out yet, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
And so J.K. Rowling told Alan like the whole Snape arc and everything, and so he was the only one who knew. He was the only actor who knew. So that I think that was like a really good move on their part. So that way, like, you know, obviously as an actor, he could internalize that, and then like everyone else was still like, whoa.
Well, and
So
especially in a playing like in a set where his character in the books also knew more information than everybody else did on the full story, because a lot of
Yeah,
it was kept private between just him and Dumbledore. So the fact that he
and
was
he was
able to
like a
get that
triple
private
agent, so we knew
information
about
from
both of
her,
them.
yeah, it almost adds that extra element to allow him to get more in depth into his character. You
And
know?
he knew from both sides. He knew like the dark side and Dumbledore, so he was like he knew everything.
yeah.
Mhm.